Around this time last year, stories on a batch of UFO files released by the British government were making headlines. The UK began releasing their UFO files in May of 2008, and although they closed down their UFO hotline in December of 2009, their UFO file releases continue to make headlines and intrigue the public. In this batch, several stories were popular. One regarded a scientist who claimed that his grandfather was a bodyguard for Winston Churchill and had overheard a conversation about UFOs in which Churchill stated that, quote, "This event should be immediately classified since it would create mass panic among the general population and destroy one's belief in the church," end quote. Another one was about a meeting between UK intelligence chiefs regarding UFOs, and a lighter story made the rounds about some people who wanted the UK government to settle a bet regarding whether alien life existed. A UK story that has made headlines all year long is a continuing saga of UFO hacker Gary McKinnon. Facing extradition to the United States for hacking into military computers looking for information on UFOs and free energy, McKinnon's case has been caught up in a legal battle. In early 2010, McKinnon's case was to be re-reviewed by the Home Secretary, a review which is yet to come. In the meantime, celebrities such as Pink Floyd's David Gilmour and Sting, as well as most of the British Parliament, have taken on the McKinnon case as a battle against U.S. heavy-handedness in the UK. President Obama was even asked to comment during a recent visit from the Prime Minister David Cameron. Obama pledged to find an appropriate solution.
In my opinion, if aliens are here, I suspect the newspapers would be full of the story.
In April of 2010, a documentary about the work of famous scientist Stephen Hawking called Into the Universe included a comment by Hawking that interacting with aliens could be dangerous, similar to the Native Americans' interactions with Europeans. This created a furor, especially among ufologists who disagreed. Even cosmologists such as Michio Kaku and Paul Davies made comments on television shows such as Larry King disagreeing with Hawking's opinion. They felt that if a society could survive a stage such as we are in, with the technology to destroy ourselves, but able to have the wisdom not to self-destruct, then they must be beyond warlike behavior. In May of 2010, the French aerospace community re-established their openness to UFO research in a report by the French Aeronautical and Astronomical Association, which stated, quote, "We have therefore retained, among some others, but only as a working hypothesis, the possibility that most of the craft observed can have a non-terrestrial origin," end quote. In June 2010, an interesting story that has been built upon throughout the year came to light. The head of the Buddhist region of Kalmykia in Russia, Kherson Ilyumzhanov, claims to have been abducted by aliens. This story made headlines when one of his opponents wanted procedures put in place to ensure that if government officials met with extraterrestrials, that they not reveal state secrets. Ilyumzhanov is also the president of the World Chess Federation, and his comments regarding his abduction, a claim which he does not shy away from, continue to make headlines. Among other international news, several headlines came out of Italy. On June 7th, Italian news covered a story about UFOs being filmed above the Vatican by 3 security guards. A week later, Mario Borghezio, an Italian member of the European Parliament, called for full disclosure of classified UFO documents. Unfortunately, his declaration did not receive enough votes to enact action. Italy made news again in late June when a story broke out about UFO and ET questions being added as options for essay questions in the maturity exam, an exam taken by high school students who wish to move on to university studies. One of the biggest stories of the year was a UFO sighting over an airport in China, causing the airport to close down and divert traffic for an hour. Alleged pictures of the sightings were posted on YouTube, and although most of the pictures were helicopters or other lights in the sky taken off the internet, major news sources used the pictures and claimed they were from China. UFO sightings continue to make news in China for the following months. The UFO that closed the airport has yet to be explained by authorities. Brazil Brazil also made worldwide headlines when in August their government ordered its Air Force and civilian pilots to officially report UFO sightings. Although they said they did not have the resources to investigate these cases, they did take them seriously. In nearby Argentina, UFO research group Sephora was able to hand their president's chief of security a 10-page report on UFOs. Admitting that public pressure was a factor, in December, Argentina announced that it would not only collect UFO reports, but also form a commission to review them. Also in December, New Zealand released UFO files from 1954 up to 2009. An Air Force spokesperson said that they did not have the resources to investigate these UFO sightings and would not make any further comments regarding the files. The United Nations has even gotten into the UFO news mix, with a story that hit the press in September 2010 reporting that they would be appointing an ambassador to extraterrestrials. Later, the UN denied the story. However, just last month, in an esteemed scientific journal titled The Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society, scientists suggested the UN should be charged with a plan to deal with extraterrestrials when contact is made. Another important event took place back in September. Robert Hastings and retired Air Force Captain Robert Salas held a press conference at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., presenting testimony from several retired Air Force servicemen who claimed to have witnessed UFOs while in service at bases where nuclear arms were stored. The event received worldwide media coverage. UFO news took New York by storm after sightings on October 13th. Many attribute the sightings to balloons that were launched in several areas around the city. However, this sighting may have been predicted. Royal Canadian Air Force captain and UFO researcher Stanley Fulham claimed in his book Challenges of Change that UFOs would be seen over several major cities on October 13th. Although New York was the only major city with UFO sightings hitting the media, many believe he was right.
The ballot initiative is a proposed ordinance for the city of Denver that would create a commission that would essentially serve as a citizens' task force to take on the role of informing the public about visitations by extraterrestrial intelligent beings to our planet.
After years of hard work, Jeff Peckman's ballot initiative in Denver to create a city-level extraterrestrial commission was finally voted upon in November. Unfortunately, 84% of the voters voted against the initiative.
If this initiative doesn't pass, there's always going to be a variety of ways to inform the public.
Inspired by Peckman's efforts, author and researcher Michael Luckman announced to the media that he would try to pass a similar initiative in New York, which was still abuzz with UFO news from the sightings in October. In December, NASA created a media frenzy when it announced a press conference on extraterrestrial life, only to present arsenic-based microscopic life being found in a lake in California. Dubbed the Silver Surfer UFO, mysterious video was taken in California on December 1st, one of the witnesses being basketball star Manu Ginobili. Amid a wave of fireball objects being reported around the country, the sighting created excitement until the mystery was solved when it was discovered that the Red Bull skydiving team was performing a nighttime demonstration using flares. Although this sighting turned out to be a case of mistaken identity, it did not turn out to be a hoax using sea monkeys, as suggested by Bill Nye the Science Guy. The WikiLeaks cables were also making a lot of news in December when founder Julian Assange told the press that there were some references to UFOs in yet-to-be-published confidential files. Although in his quote regarding UFOs he stated, quote, "Many weirdos email us about UFOs or how they discovered they were the Antichrist whilst talking with their ex-wife at a garden party over a pot plant," end quote. The media was ablaze with headlines about soon-to-be-released UFO files. Thus far, a few mentions about popular UFO news stories are the only UFO-related cables to be released. Another big story this year was the release of a book by Leslie Kean titled UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record. Not only did the book get media attention, it also made it to the New York Times bestseller list. The book contains first-hand accounts from credible witnesses such as officials from NASA, the FAA, and state and federal governments. Other great UFO books were also released this year, some being UFO Case Files of Russia by Paul Stonehill and Philip Mantle, Light at the End of the Tunnel, A Survival Plan for the Human Species by Paul Hellyer, Ufologia Aeronautica by Captain Rodrigo Bravo of the Chilean Army, The Circle of the Gods by the prominent Mexican politician and daughter of Diego Rivera, Guadalupe Rivera Marin, and most recently, Wonders in the Sky, Unexplained Aerial Objects from Antiquity to Modern Times, a book by Chris Abeck and Jacques Vallée. This past December also marked the 30th anniversary of the Rendlesham Forest incident. We are very proud to have 3 of the witnesses to that event participating in the Congress this year, Charles Haupt, James Peniston, and John Burroughs. We were not able to include every event and book from 2010, and you can see it was a busy year. However, you can find these and many other UFO stories at openminds.tv.